You ever ask yourself, what's the difference between a land investor making 40 grand a year and a land investor making $4 million a year? I think it's so interesting that in this business where there's immense opportunity, you see such a huge delta in people's earning power. If you've ever sat and thought about this, it gets really fascinating to try to unwind what's the difference between those two cohorts. Well, in this video, I'm gonna unpack that and I'm gonna show you how you can not fall into that camp, right? The 40K a year camp. I'm gonna show you how to break out of that and how to scale with limitless potential. Now, if you guys are new here, my name's Sumner Healey. We run a business called landinvestor.co. We help folks start, grow, and scale land investing businesses. We are here, frankly, to take over the industry, and we're making a lot of noise. If you want to join us, you can click the link down below to get inside of our Discord. It's totally free, totally awesome. All right, guys. So really in my free time, I spend a ridiculous amount of my waking hours trying to reverse engineer land investing success, both for myself and for our members. I think it's just a topic that fascinates me. And really what's interesting about this difference here is that in land, in this weird little sub niche, I always tell people there's 1,000,001 ways to make money. There's 1,000,001 ways to skin the cat. And because there's so many different ways to make money in this business, you see such a wide gradient in terms of people's potential and their earning power and the revenue and the size of their business. What is that, right? Well, frankly, I don't think it's just about a strategy. I think strategy does play into it, but this is a much deeper mindset shift. And I'm gonna call some people out, and if I do, I'm sorry, I don't mean any offense by it, okay? But most folks that are struggling in this business, it's because they fall under the category of being a deal maker. The folks that have uber success in this business fall into the category of being an entrepreneur. Now that seems like a reasonably simple difference, but the trouble is most of the education, most of the information, even the name land investing lends to this deal making belief, right? That, hey, we're here to make deals. Doesn't matter at what cost, we'll do any deal, all deals, we'll make deals happen. We're always gonna make money on every deal that comes to us. This is the lens that most people look at land, right? When I first got into this business, I fell into that same trap. All I wanted to do was get a lead and then find any angle to work that lead, right? I don't care if the deal was landlocked. I don't care if the deal had horrible access. I don't care if the deal was a buy for $200, sell for $600. I was gonna find a way to extract value from that lead. Now, in principle, I think that sounds cool, right? I think resourcefulness as a skill set is a beautiful skill set. And frankly, the irony is what makes a good entrepreneur is being resourceful. But that's only up until a certain point, right? To get your entrepreneurial dreams off the ground, yes, you've got to be scrappy, you've got to be resourceful. The trouble is most people are taking that skill set and they're playing it out, right? What got you here won't get you there type thing. And so that resourcefulness, scrappy hunger is not the playbook that's gonna scale you past that six-figure marketing land business. What I see is a lot of these deal maker types typically cap out around $250,000, $500,000 a year in their land business. The other factor that we have to include though is not only is there a glass ceiling on their earning potential, you also have to wonder, well, what's their lifestyle like, right? Because in that deal maker role, it's really difficult to delegate out portions of it, right? And so you've got this rub where it's really difficult to delegate. Since you are kind of wearing all of the hats in the business, you are the linchpin or the bottleneck to growth because, hey, I'm working these leads so I can't get more marketing out. It's there's always this vicious cycle. I'm working a lot of acquisitions right now so I can't really get any of my stuff dispoed, or I'm doing a lot of dispo and I can't really have time to go work the new leads or get more mail out. Your business starts to cannibalize itself because you can never step out of that day to day. And so it's just a really vicious spot to be at because not only is the growth limited, you also have this kind of quality of life that frankly might be questionable. Now, I need to preface, everyone's in this business for different reasons. I don't want to make broad generalizations, but I'll say for me and for pretty much every other LEA member, the goal is freedom, right? And yes, money to a certain extent equals freedom, but I will tell you there are plenty of people that make lots of money that have no freedom. I always joke around, I am definitely not the richest, most successful land investor by any means, but I think I have the best lifestyle. Why is that? Well, it's because the lens that I view this opportunity through. So when we look at this deal maker aspect, you're gonna have typically lumpy results, right? You see a lot of deal makers that get mail out one month, they don't get mail out the next month. Leads get mismanaged because, hey, I'm working a bunch of buyer leads, so a few seller leads slip through the crack. There's just a lack of efficiency in that system. They typically end up taking on deals that might not fit their wheelhouse, right? So, hey, we're gonna buy this deal for 1,000 and sell it for 3. We also got this subdivided that we're buying for 150 and selling for 300. It's all these different modes of making money in this business, right? They're doing a little bit of everything, but yet they're not really doing any one thing proficiently at a very high level. The other thing is these folks typically suffer burnout at one time or another. And I speak to this because this was my life, right? When I got into this business, I was a deal maker maker. I just wanted to make money. It was a desperation. It was like, I wanted to make money as bad as I wanted to breathe type thing. And so I did any deal that came my way, and I exhausted myself, right? I was working a full-time job for the first year, working in my land business every waking hour outside of that. Once I left my job, I was working day in and day out, 10, maybe 12 hours a day. It got to the point where I put a bed in my office and I would just sleep on the floor, wake up, work all day, go take a walk, work again, and then come and sleep in the office. It was just this loop that I was on. And frankly, that was because there was always just this insurmountable amount of things that needed to get done. We've got 40 leads I got to call back today. We got this offer on this property. I got to talk to this realtor. I got to get this property listed. I got to write this listing description. It was exhausting. So let's talk about what's the alternative, right? Well, I think I first need to preface that if you're in that deal making mode, no harm, no foul, okay? I was there, I can change, you can change, we all can change. So your fate is not permanent. You're not gonna be a deal maker forever, but you've gotta make this internal switch that you wanna change. The other thing, when you're in that deal making mode, you have to understand that to cross the chasm and become the land entrepreneur, what you need to do is take one step back, take 2 steps forward. That really frustrates people, right? Because in order for us to start laying the foundations, getting the hires and building the systems in your business to create leverage and then to create freedom, well, you're gonna have to take a step back from the day-to-day. You're gonna have to start working on more future-oriented, proactive work instead of being in this reactive mode of doing the day-to-day. And that means some of the stuff in the day-to-day is gonna start to slow down, but you're gonna be laying the foundation for something really cool. Okay, so let's talk about what it's like in the entrepreneur's world. In the entrepreneur's world, we look at this business as an assembly line, right? If you're a fan of Henry Ford, he didn't invent the assembly line, but he definitely improved the assembly line. And one of the things that they did is they created essentially stations along each part of the assembly line. They just made the assembly line more efficient. What they realized is having one person at point A who runs down to point B and then runs down to point C is wildly inefficient. It's actually better to have maybe more people at that assembly line, but really clear verticalized roles. And what that creates is quality. It creates a clearness in what people are responsible for, and it creates efficiency in that system. And so that's how we want to view our land business, right? There's really 3 components to this assembly line. You've got acquisitions, operations, dispositions. Each one of those verticals has a clear set breakdown of roles and hierarchies upon them. All right, quick interruption. If you are looking to grow a 6 or 7 figure land investing business, you're most likely going to want to check out our land investing scholarship. This gives you access to the Leah Group coaching program at discounts never before seen, allows you to work with myself and directly with our team of Leah coaches. If you think you're a good fit for it, I recommend applying. The link is down in the description below. If you are selected, we'll move forward with a call and get everything going. Anyways, back to the video. Really, your job as a land investor, once you lay down this foundation, is to get people into those roles, is to manage, is to lead, is to train, is to bless deals, both on the acquisitions and the disposition side, and is to get money to fund those deals, and over time, cheaper and cheaper money. And the next thing is to be a visionary, right? Any industry, land included, is cyclical. It goes through evolutions, it changes. You've got to be looking and saying, hey, I'm at the helm of this company. What's coming in 6 months? What's coming in 12 months? And if you're like most entrepreneurs, growth is part of the goal, right? You want to grow. Typically, growth just isn't a matter of doing more of the same at a higher quantity. There has to be a quality shift as well to growth. And so understanding, hey, maybe right now you're doing 5 for 5, sell for 10 type deals. Maybe we go up market. Maybe we go value add. Maybe it's subdivisions or entitlements or creating access or whatever it may be. One of the easiest ways to scale a land business is by just increasing the quality. And that again could be the deal size, the types of deals, or the way we add value. Now, in the world of the entrepreneur, we're thinking about, hey, I'm going to sacrifice margin today to build something that can run on its own and sustain itself. So let's say in that deal maker world, you're making 50 grand a month in your land business, which for a deal maker is at the very high end. So you're making 50 grand a month in that role. What if we say, cool, I'm going to partition 15K to go out towards payroll. And in that deal maker role, I was working 60 hours a week. Well, now in this new role, I'm going to be parting ways with 15 grand a month. So I'm going to make it 35, but I'll be working about 15 to 20 hours a week in that role. So our quality of life just bumped. Yes, we took a bit of a pay cut, but here's where it gets really interesting. So now we've just freed up dozens of hours a week, right? We can get our basic tasks done in 15 to 20 hours a week, which frankly, if you have the right team in a place in a land business, you can get away with 5 to 10 hours a week. That's maintenance mode, right? But the goal is growth. For most of us, the goal is growth. So we hit the maintenance mode with these additional hours, we can start being that visionary. And through those visionary efforts, really magical things happen. So right now, you sacrifice 15 for payroll, you're making 35, you got a much better quality of life now. But what happens when we fast forward a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? If you're using that additional time wisely, your business will compound. You will literally add rocket fuel to your business. So while you're freeing up capital today for payroll, you're able to be the visionary, and in a year, maybe you're making 100 grand a month. In 2 years, maybe you're making $250 a month. In 3 years, $500 a month. And again, we're still doing that while maintaining this quality of life. Every time we grow, we're adding additional units of support, which typically in this business is just people. And so we're never going to sacrifice that quality of life. And we're going to continue to grow because we're giving us ample time to be the visionary. Now, one thing I need to preface, when we're in the role of being that land entrepreneur, when we are being the visionary, it's pretty hands-off. It's a lot of thinking, right? It's very cerebral. But when we're looking to implement new strategies, hey, we're going to have this inflection point in our business and we're going to go take on this new initiative. For that time being, you typically got to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty in that new process. And then through that, you're going to start building roles around it. I'll give you guys an example. About eight and a half months ago in our business, we said, hey, we want to start adding subdivides to our wheelhouse. I didn't know the first thing about subdividing. My team didn't know the first thing about subdividing. A rookie mistake would have been saying, hey team, you guys go do subdivides. That's typically not how it works. So what we had to do is say, cool, I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm getting in the trenches. I'm reviewing every lead that comes in that has subdivided potential. We're working with the counties. We're doing everything from A to Z. It's wildly inefficient, but I'm learning. I'm building systems during that, right? I'm documenting that process. And then once we actually have it refined and we started doing deals, then I start building roles around that. The journey of a land entrepreneur is like this kind of cyclical one, right? Where you've got periods where you're in rest, relaxation mode. You're thinking about the future. And then once you define what that future is going to be, you get your hands dirty in it, you start working it. But through that process, we're not going to let our efforts go to waste. We're going to document that and we're going to build roles around it. And so what happens in this land entrepreneurial role is we have a better quality of life. We create stability and consistency in our land business by having people that are working on our behalf and executing whatever their specific role is. We have the ability to grow pretty much as far as we want, right? When we looked at that deal maker role, they were pretty much at their cap. Right? The only thing they could do to grow is maybe go after bigger deals, right? And so, yeah, that's a lever to pull to grow, but there's still a ceiling on that as a solo operator, is that deal maker type, right? Instead, in that land entrepreneur, we can create efficiency in that system and we can start growing that way. And then with that additional time, we can be the forward-looking one. And so part of this land entrepreneur game is just having the right expectations when you come in, right? Now, understandably, your first 90 days, first 6 months in this business, you're going to be a deal maker, but we want to be cognizant of what we're trying to create here. And we got to understand that while we're in that deal maker mode, document everything. Start creating systems around that. Start looking into the future of what this is going to be, and don't let that effort go to waste, right? Create systems around it and then start plugging people in as quickly as you can. Now, in this process, we're going to have to take a step back in terms of the day-to-day. Some things are going to slide. Revenue might drop a little bit to build out these systems. Then we're going to start hiring, we're going to start training, we're going to start retaining, and then things are going to start growing from there. The other thing that can happen too is you got to take a step back in terms of freeing up some profit, right? If you're used to making 80% margins in your business, margins are going to drop when we start hiring people. But you got to understand that drop in margin is temporary. Every role for the most part in a land business should either buy back time or drive revenue. And so quickly these roles should start paying for themselves either in savings or either in revenue. And so it's a step backwards in terms of time, it's a step backwards in terms of revenue to take a huge quantum leap forward. And really that's the mission we're on here at Leah, is showing the world A, what's possible in the land business, and B, that the good stuff, the lifestyle, the cool results, the growth, that does not come from being a deal maker. That comes from being a business builder, a land entrepreneur. Frankly, that deal maker is all about skill, which you need to attain the skills. And then this business builder, land entrepreneur is all about creating leverage around those skills. It's exactly what we do inside the Leah Group Coaching Program. Our 12-month group coaching program is tailored around, let's teach you the skills, let's teach you how to create leverage and build a business around it. Because at the end of the day, what do we want? We want autonomy, we want freedom, we want flexibility, we want choice. Some of that is related to money, but a lot of it's related to the design of our business. I hope this was insightful. If you're a deal maker, no shame in your game. But to me, this is the differentiator. This is the difference between folks getting ridiculous results versus folks that are having a really hard time just keeping their head afloat in the land business. Hope this helps. Peace.